Hey, Maven Nation, welcome to another episode of Success with Saneness, your bi-weekly dose of solution-inspired stories to help you maintain your well-being. My guest today is not only an amazing entrepreneur, but she also doubles as my niece. So I'm always excited to interview and talk about the amazing things other family members are doing because I'm not going to say everyone, this one, I have had a few touches in her life and in her business to help her grow. So I'm always so proud to see her doing her thing. Here are a few words. I'm not going to read her bio, but here are a few words that I would use to describe you, Sharonica. Creative, resourceful, resilient, determined, and a serial entrepreneur. I would say a serial creative. Sharonica is definitely that person that hits me on text sometime and she got the next idea. Then I'll be like, whoa, everybody slow down. Let's get the one that we talked about launched, then we can go on to that. So Sharonica, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me. Share a little bit more with Maven Nation. Some of them already know you. You've been a part of the community for a while. A little bit more about yourself and how did you get to this current place? I know just like me, you had a layoff that happened. So talk a little bit about your journey of arriving here today.
So first, let me say thank you for having me. Just a real big honor. I think all of those words that you described me were just like nail on, like creative, determined, which is one of my big words, and just resilient, and serial entrepreneur. So all of those things are me. And I get to use the creative side with the serial entrepreneur. I think that really helps me think outside the box and really target who I want to target. Mm-hmm. But the big question, how did I get here? I was pushed into this thing. Just like everybody else, I was going into this thing, okay, I really love my full-time job. Mm-hmm. I was doing what I wanted to do. I was in the nonprofit sector and the management part of the nonprofit sector. And, when COVID hit, a lot of layoffs started happening. But thankfully for me, going back a year before COVID, I had already started my business plan on what I wanted to do, which was the Rose Residential Care Home for seniors. So I basically kind of took what I was doing already. I was a social worker, case manager, working with the senior population. Senior meaning elderly population, geriatric. Okay. And so for 13 plus years, that was the demographic that I served. And I just kept hearing the same problem over and over and over. And then when Harvey hit, it really kind of pushed me because I seen so many seniors living in mildew and mold.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Let me stop there.
Okay.
I seen a lot of seniors living in mildew and mold in their homes. And so, and the number one thing was, I don't want to be put in a nursing home. Okay. And so they really did not want to leave the homes, for one, that they had paid off. Right. I mean, who wants to go somewhere and have to pay? Long-term care is very expensive.
Absolutely.
And so I was just like, you know what? It should be a better way of doing this. And it's a lot of, they call them group homes, boarding homes, personal care homes. I call mine a residential care home. It's a lot of those in Houston area. But and me going into a lot of them, I kind of took like, I want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. Okay. So came up with my business plan, and I actually used my job as a resource. Like you said, I'm very resourceful. We had an entrepreneur department, and I'm sitting on a committee with the director of that department, and I knew what they help people start businesses. And so me and her got to talking. She said, yes, we help employees. I was actually the first employee that they did help. So they helped me with the business plan, helped me apply for an SBA loan, go through that whole process. November 2019, I was funded. March, I'm scheduled to open my residential care home, which, by the way, is in Tyler, Texas, 4 hours away from where I currently live at. And so March 2020 hits, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I'm in like panic mode, thinking, what am I going to do with this house full of furniture, nobody in it? Then 2 weeks later, I get called in. Oh, we're going to have to lay you off because of, budget.
Right.
When you're in management and they look at salaries, of course, when
Absolutely.
they go to budget, they're trying to cut the person that has the highest salary. And so I was in that first round of cuts. And so during that time when they told me, I kind of went from mad to sad to happy. Happy because I'm thinking, okay, God, this is you telling me you need to do this full force, or else it's not going to be what you want it to be. It's going to be another side hustle.
Right.
Because as a serial entrepreneur, like you said, I have tons of ideas. And so
Right.
I always tell people I'm going to be either rich or poor behind those ideas, because I really do sometimes try to act on all of them.
Right.
But this was one that was that was really in my lane, and I could take my expertise and really make it to what it was. So I say they tell me my last day is May the 1st. And so here I am, March 2020, open, going through this process, thinking, okay, this is an income loss, and now I've added on overhead costs. I've added on a very costly business. May 1st was my last day. I get two placements May the 1st.
Wow.
In the home. And so I was like, okay, God, I hear you. This is what I needed out of my comfort zone. So that's pretty much how I started with this whole thing. And of course, it's in Tyler, Texas. The number one question I get is, why Tyler?
Okay.
I'm a person that I'm very competitive and I like to win. And so I'm just like, okay, I really don't want to compete in this space. I just want to be the only one in this space. And so me looking at different locations, I'm from Tyler, Texas. I knew the people there. I knew what they wanted. I was very, people knew me there already. So it's not like I had to go there and get my brand.
Right.
Well, get me, because at that time I was the brand.
Right.
Nobody knew what the Rose was. And me doing research, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe it's not any here. And
There were none?
It was none.
Oh, wow.
No residential care homes. They had what they call adult foster care homes, but they're slightly different. We very similar, but very different at the same time. And they only had one of those. And this was owned by a Caucasian man that was like in his 70s. And him and his wife lived there with the residents. So very slightly different, but nonetheless, I was the only one there. Okay. And so people start seeing what made us different from facilities.
Okay.
And they just love the idea.
Yeah.
So fast forward to a year after me opening, I saw the demand. I said, let me open up another one.
Okay.
And now here I am.
I love that. And this is what I say about our journeys. There are no wasted experiences. Mm-hmm. All the things you learned as a corporate employee in the nonprofit management space, you needed for your business. You got on-the-job training on somebody else's dollar. You were getting paid as an employee, but you got the training and the knowledge that you wanted. So I say that to say this to those of you that are watching and listening who might have the dream of being an entrepreneur and you feel like you're wasting time being a corporate employee. Get all the knowledge, get all the people skills, learn, get your business set up now. Do all of those things while you still have a full-time check coming in. Yeah. So that when you transition, and again, I had a similar story. I got laid off, but had already started the concept of what I was doing. And so it just made it the next step. Like, okay, this is where it is. Because I think for me, I would have stayed a full-time corporate employee and done my business on the side for two reasons only. One, the wonderful check that I was getting, and because I had the medical insurance for my family. And I'm thinking, your family's depending on you. You can't leave. You can't. So I know for me, a layoff is what had to happen for me to find my brave to go pursue this dream. Otherwise, I would have just kept doing it on the side because it was comfort. You talked about the comfort zone. Yeah. These are the things, and we know we have these burning passions in us that won't let go. It doesn't matter what we go do. You have had photography business. Do you still have that?
Yes and no. I don't. I do not advertise or post anything. I just don't want to be overwhelmed. I do it when I want to do it.
Okay. I love that. And here is, of course, I'm always talking about balance, rhythm, and how do we. Here's one thing, especially for creatives, it's so important, creatives, that you do not abandon your creativity in pursuit of the thing that definitely brings you money, because you're going to feel unfulfilled. But you have to be able to set boundaries with yourself and say, I'm not going to run off on this tangent and do 10 creative projects when my moneymaker is kind of just in flux, right? So how do you, with your photography, you design stuff, all kind of beautiful creative things, how have you allowed your creative side to stay intertwined with you running your business from in a city that's 4 hours away, your hometown? You also have a husband and children here in Houston. How are you meshing those things, and what's been some of your significant pain points that have taught you, like, okay, you can't do it that way, you gotta figure this out to make this work for you?
Okay, so the first question, how do I kind of intertwine the two? The photography world taught me so much as far as like who is my ideal client.
Okay.
Who do I want to target? And especially like what my worth is as far as what service I provide.
Okay.
And so, and it also taught me the marketing part of it, because in a field of a lot of photographers, you really have to do something that stands out. Although I'm the only one in in the Tyler area that has a residential care home, I still have that mindset. What is setting me apart?
Okay.
I still operate like I'm a niche, even though I'm the only thing.
Right.
My goal is to always, what's going to make me stand out? Because my competitor is the facilities, the big box, the grandes, the estates, the people who have the big shiny chandeliers and the wonderful pool out there, outside. So the thing of it is, I have to do the photography part. Taught me, okay, what am I going to do to get people's attention? Okay. And I also bring the photography aspect into my residential care home. So for example, we take a lot of pictures. If you follow us on Facebook, we take a ton of pictures. Okay. And whenever our residents pass away, what we do is we give the family a memorial book of the last year of their life.
Oh, how sweet.
Every family member gets that. The first time we did that, it was our very first resident that passed away. And the family I seen the emotion behind them flipping through the pages of the last year. And it was intentional with me saying the last year, simply because that was the last year was the last memory that they had of her. Not when they were 10 and 12 and they really couldn't remember that. And there was a lot of pictures with them in it. And they didn't realize how many pictures that we were taking of them. And it was something that, like I said, that was very intentional. And so that's something that my family members really, really enjoy and can say, okay, this is what the last year of mom or dad's life looked like. The creative side, like you said, I love to create. We have a lot of different programming. Even though we have 6 residents per house, I operate like we're a facility and we're planning for 30 plus people. Okay. So the creative side comes in also when I'm planning programs. Like I'm big on intergenerational work. Work where children can gather with older adults and they both learn from each other. That also came from my background with when my last employee, when I worked in the nonprofit sector. But just thinking of programs that can keep seniors involved and the younger generation are involved is where a lot of the creativity comes in at. And I get to create my own marketing material because, I'm not quite ready to outsource that because I'm one of those people. I'm very, I don't like to go back and forth, and I know exactly what I want.
Right. Listen, that you cut. I mean, and one of the things that I've learned in my business from that regard is I'm very clear on what I see in my head that I want. So on the marketing stuff, I will sometimes do a rough draft, create a quick, this is what I'm looking for, and then hand it off so that I don't have to be into the details, but I still get the vision that's in my head captured. Otherwise, it's gonna bug me. Like, I'm gonna keep messing with it and keep messing with it until I get it there. So
maybe I should try that.
Yes. start with a good draft that's in your head, and then hand it off. So I truly love that you have a heart for seniors. Now, you and I have talked about this, how, residential care can be a profitable business, right? But you can't, some things in the world you just cannot go into for the money only. It's just not going to work. And when I look at your Facebook page or things that you post, I see the care that you and the people that you hire to be on your team have for those seniors, because, and this is something I want us to talk about, especially geared toward the Black community. What are some things that family members can do in preparation before you have to make that decision on mom or dad has just gotten to a place where they cannot be alone, right? What are some things they should be trying to prepare for? And then also, I know you do consulting on keeping that family member in their home, some ways that they can prepare for that. What are some things? Because oftentimes, especially in our community, something happens, some big health incident happens, and now you at the point, like, you got to make a decision right now, and there's been no preparation. Like, you're trying to figure it out right now. You're trying to figure out where the money going to come from, because you don't take insurance, correct? This is private pay. So what are some ways people can start to think about this before they're in the moment of having to figure out right now, mom and dad is getting out of the hospital in a week, and I've got to figure something out?
So I think the main thing is, well, let me say this. I wrote an ebook that's completely free. It's called Don't Put Me in a Nursing Home. And it is a guide to keeping your loved one in the home as long as possible. And these are things that you can be proactive about. Keyword is proactive. I think a lot of people, they make their emergency somebody else's emergency. And I think when you have a parent that you know that you're going to have to be responsible for, you have to be proactive. And one of the first things I always tell family members is, talk to your mom, your loved one, first about what their wishes are. A lot of times they think, because they have dementia, they have memory issues. I don't care. Ask them, what do you want the next year of your life to look like? Let them have a buy-in on the decision on what's going on, because a lot of times, we always say older people are really set in their ways. They are. But a lot of times that's because they don't want you treating them like they're kids. So
That's
have
important.
the conversation with them and ask them, what do they want? Now, when you're in an emergency situation, of course, you kind of have to think, as a family caregiver, their emergency is now your emergency.
Absolutely.
And so you don't have time to be proactive because you're in the stage.
You're in the thick of it. Yeah.
You're in the thick of it. So I always tell people, contact your free resources first.
And those are all listed in your ebook?
Those are all listed in my ebook.
And we're going to drop the link for your ebook in the comments below the video so that people can get access to that. I mean, it's a great resource. I read through it and helped review it. But listen, one of the main reasons I wanted Sharonica on is because this is something that affects the Black community a lot. Often, we don't have, or our parents or whomever don't have long-term care insurance plans, right? Those alone are very expensive if you didn't start them early on in life.
Right.
And, it's heartbreaking to have a family member that has gotten suddenly ill or has some progressive disease that is at the point where they do need some type of care or can't live alone. And I love the ebook because it helps families make decisions before the decision has to be made, which really gives you power. It gives you power, and it also helps your family member, like you said, feel like they're part of the process. I know toward the end of my mom's life, honey, I don't care what her sundowner syndrome was saying. She did not want me just trying to tell her what it was she was going to be doing. That was when she and I would have not a good day together, because she still wanted at least you to say, Mom, this is what I think needs to happen. How do you feel about it? What do you think about it? And let them have a say. So this ebook really helps family members listen, we're all going to age.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Listen, if you don't age, that means you had to check out early, right? We're all going to age. And we know in our families who the responsible one is going to have to be.
Yeah.
Listen, it is what it is. Now, you can put your head in the sand and be like, oh, my other siblings, you know if it's you. And if it's you and your other family members don't have time, don't want to do it, whatever, you, for your own sake, your financial sake, your mental sake, be proactive. So let's talk a little bit about how can someone, even in this proactive phase, look at preparing, potentially keep the loved one in their home instead of going to even a residential care home or definitely a nursing home. Like, what does that look like when they're trying to give that thought, well, maybe they could stay at home and we could do some things?
Okay, so I always say the first thing is you want to age-proof the home. You know how we always say baby-proof the home? You want to age-proof the home, which means the first thing that you want to look for is trip hazards, because when you get older, you know, your gait is not the same as far as like your walking mannerism. And so if you go into any of our residential care homes, you're not going to see any rugs because it's a trip hazard. Okay. You also want to think of if they have memory care issues, you don't want to have anything that's gas. And if you do have gas, take the knobs off. Security cameras, something as simple as security cameras. That way, most caregivers have to work. Yes. They are still working, balancing their own families, and mom is just dead set on staying in her own home or staying there with you. And so security cameras is something very simple that people can install inside the home. That way you can be at work and know that mom is okay at home by herself. And I don't encourage you to leave them there by themselves if they are a wanderer or if they have a high acuity level of dementia, Alzheimer's. Okay. And if they do, again, it's free resources in place for low-income individuals. Most of the time, they can qualify for a free provider, home care attendant, where the state will say, and most of the time you have to be eligible for Medicaid in order to get this service. And they'll get, let's just say, up to 35 hours a week where somebody comes in and kind of does that personal care. And I always tell people, whatever your work shift is, that's what you need to schedule that aid for. So if you work from 8 to 5, she needs to be there from 8 to 5. Also, a lot of times the children want to be in control of it all. Yes, I know I'm the responsible one, but people don't know to help if you don't ask to help. I'm one of those people that don't really ask for help. I'm like, if you see the need, step up and just do it. But sometimes we operate with people who, well, you didn't ask me. So give them assignments. Say, hey, I need you to be responsible for taking mom to the grocery store every Friday. I need you to be the one responsible for picking up the medication. Delegate the responsibilities. Don't assume they're not going to do it. And don't ask. Just say, I need for you to do this. Don't ask. Because their thing is, well, I have kids and we have soccer practice. Well, so do I. So do I.
And this becomes such a potential for such a destruction of a family when a loved one becomes ill or sick in this way, because everybody feels like I'm doing my part, and truly the person that is the primary caregiver, there's a lot on that person, and I've seen it. I've heard the stories of it just destroying families because, again, there was no plan. There was no conversation. And, people get in their feelings about, well, I'm doing all of it. But you haven't asked, like you said, delegate. I need you to do this part. I need you to do this part. And maybe even for families that have siblings that don't live in the same community, maybe they live in another state. What can they do that's a phone call, an email, or something that can be done without physically being where the loved one is. But I like that idea of the primary caregiver, kind of creating a task list and saying, here are the tasks. What part can you do? I need everybody to do something. What part can you do? Tell us a little bit about your homes precisely, and some of the fun activities. Again, you being a creative, I've seen, some of your videos, like they're not, I love too that folks are not living in your residential care home and it's just end of life. They're having fun. They're enjoying themselves. And what's so important about that for aging seniors in regard to isolation, and what does that do to someone's physical care when they are isolated by themselves versus being in an area where they can interact with other people, interact with the staff and those, technically they're housemates. How does that help support them, and you adding your creativity into doing things that keeps them looking forward to living instead of worried about the end?
So that's a good question. And this is one of the things that I'm very intentional about talking to anybody that calls and inquires about doing a tour or moving in. So me starting out this process, I really wanted our homes to feel like home. Okay. I wanted the residents to feel like they went from their home to another home. And so I was very intentional with the design, with the layout, with the people that I brought on as far as in leadership positions and people that I do business with, because I wanted them to feel like if I wake up at 2:00 in the morning, I can still go to the refrigerator and get me a Coke if I want to.
Okay.
I wanted them to still feel like adults, no matter if they had memory care issues, what the issue was. And I believe that that's important because going back to the isolation, I'm a big advocate on shared rooms. A lot of people want private rooms, but I think at an age where you're feeling like you're just not worthy, you still want to feel wanted. Sometimes that's pairing you with somebody in the room with you to make you feel that way, because you two become very codependent on each other. You're helping each other. I'm one of those people that I think that when they have a private room, it leads to isolation. Isolation leads to depression, and depression leads to a decline in health. Yes. The decline in health, I tell everybody, I am not a nurse. The health part is not my it's not my lane. So I tell people I'm not a nurse. And so my focus is mental, the emotional well-being. And again, I learned all of this from my nonprofit job.
Right.
That was my focus was, I'm not a nurse. I'm a social worker working in the field. Let me stimulate you mentally and emotionally. That way, that part, if you stimulate them mentally and emotionally, then their body starts to heal mentally. Yeah. And so we've had people that have come to us on hospice, and they think, oh, they're probably not going to live like a week. Right. And they come to us. I mean, we've had one person that really coded in the middle of the hallway upon moving in.
Okay, wow.
I was like, oh. Thankfully, we had a nurse there. Her nurse was there, and she was an ER nurse as well.
Okay.
So they brought her back. She moves in, and I'm just like, oh my God, she's probably not going to be here. And so she's been with us for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. She's been with us for 2 years. And this is a true story. Like, and her family was like, when they would come visit her, I'm a big advocate of nobody staying in the bed all day. None of our residents are bedridden.
Right.
And so they would come in and visit her, and they were like, "Do you think she's gonna make it?" I was just like, "Yeah, she's gonna make it because we're gonna get her involved. We're not gonna treat her like she's not gonna make it."
Right.
So we would still get her out of bed.
That's helping adjust the senior's mindset. We're not focusing on the end. We're focused on being present and living. Listen, that not only helps seniors, that helps me as a midlife woman. Younger people, mindset is so important to healthful living no matter where you are. Listen, that is an absolutely amazing story and speaks to people feeling like they are surrounded with love. They have people that are supporting them. And again, I never even thought about the roommate piece, right? You, instead of being in your own room, you have, another lady there if you're a woman, and y'all are talking and interacting and sharing conversations. That is what makes all of us human. That is what we all crave. And I love that you are so intentional to include that. And from a family member moving someone in and thinking, I don't know how long they're going to make it, to still coming to visit them 2 years later. Listen, that's why you won the East Texas 2020 Best Care Home, right? Listen, the intentions that you're putting toward not just something that generates money, but a passion for caring for seniors. Listen, we need more of you in the world. It's just one of those things because this is a big population of our world. And it's so disheartening to say that a person has potentially lived a great life, served others, done amazing things, lived out their passions, and they get to, senior stages or even more toward end of life, and they can't have a joyful those last years, right? It is possible, which your homes really get us to see that and see it in living color. Keep sharing the Facebook stories and the memories and the activities they're doing, because again, I think for the Black community, we have to see that this is possible, and it's not just for other communities. This can be for us too. We just have to be proactive and plan as best we can for if this happens, what are some things we're going to do, which again, your ebook talks about all of that and really helps people kind of work through that. Now, do you offer consultations to families that say, okay, I got the ebook, Sharonica, but I still have some questions, or I still need a little help? Do you offer those consultations, and what's one of the biggest things you've had to help people kind of walk through around how do I get started? So I have the ebook, I've gone through that, but what do I do, and how do I bring the family, the loved one, into this conversation?
So so I do offer consultations. You've read the ebook. You're still, quite not sure. Part of being a family caregiver is that it's overwhelming. It is very overwhelming because you yourself, you haven't aged, so you can't relate to what mom is going through. And so a lot of times it's really just me hearing. A lot of times it's just a conversation. And so I'm listening to what's going on. And in the process, I'm writing down, oh, she can use this, she can use that, she can use this, and she can use that. And so by the time really the call ends, I have a whole care plan for you. And the care plan is really an execution plan. Like, these are the steps I need to take in order to get what I need. And the care plan can simply be, I need, I have to work. I don't have anybody that can come in and stay. Okay, I know she can benefit from a care provider. What other steps to getting a provider in place? I have to apply for the program. So me knowing, I need to send them the program. I mean, the application for the program. Once they get the program, I then know it's steps to me trying to get them a provider in place. And
Gotcha.
so that's just one example. A lot of times it all comes down to money, especially in our community. It always more than likely comes down to money. And so people don't realize it's a ton of resources out there that can help people for free. For example, an emergency alert. If mom is having problems with falling all the time, you can get a bracelet or a pendant or a necklace to where if mom falls, she can just press the button and it alerts you, and it also alerts 911. And so that's a free service, and a lot of people don't know about through Area Agency on Aging. And again, that's in the ebook. And I kept the ebook really short and really kind of to the point. Because for one, that's just who I am, and two, I know it's very overwhelming for caregivers, so I want it to be straight to the point.
Okay. I love that, and I would say that I would imagine that feeling of overwhelm. You know, if it's a parent, your parents have taken care of you, right? They've raised you, and now really you hear about those roles being reversed. First, just in your mind, you're trying to unpack that part, right? Like this is the person that raised me, and I've seen them vibrant and living life, and now I'm having to step into a role to kind of be the guide and the leader now. So that overwhelm part, I think that too is probably what often keeps people from doing the proactive work.
Yeah.
If I do this proactive work, then this is going to, I gotta accept that this is really happening. And listen, whether you accept it in your mind or not, your parent or your loved one is still going to be aging. It's still going to happen. God, you have something else?
Yes, I was going to say that's part of what I call like caregiver denial. They don't want to see their parents. They are still thinking that their parents should operate as if they were the 16-year-old child. I'm so used to mom being able to do this. And a lot of times they think, well, I think she's putting on, or she should be able to do this. And, she needs rehab. And I'm just like, she's aging.
Yeah.
You're 45 now. You're not able to do the same things.
Exactly.
She's 85 and she's not able to do what she was able to do when she was 45. And so it's denial, and it's them. And I go through this with every caregiver that places their mom with us. Well, she used to be able to do this, and I have to have a come to Jesus moment. It's used to be able to do.
Keyword.
And I have to tell them. And after 30 days, we do a family Zoom call where, in case we have families that are out of state, it gives them an opportunity, and it gives us an opportunity. So we do 30 days because by then we've gotten to know the person and their personality and what they can and cannot do. And then so this is a time where we tell the family, no, mom really can't do that. She really cannot do that. We've observed this. We're with her 24/7. She really cannot do this. And so because you do have family caregivers that are, they think that they know.
Right.
Because they don't necessarily live with mom, and they're open. The questions that they're asking are yes or no questions, not the question that they should be asking. I always say change begins with the first new question. It's how you ask the question is what you're going to get from mom or dad, the answer. Right. Very true. And they're at an age where they're going to just really tell you the truth. and sometimes you have to be nosy, and you have to snoop, because you do have loved ones that will try to hide their condition from you. And
you think about it, they're still human, right? They have their own pride and they don't want to be aging and not doing the things they were able to do as well, which is why they could be reserved in telling you the whole story about what they can. Oh, no, I'm fine. I can still do that, right? It's them not wanting to let go of some of that as well. So listen, I am grateful that you were given the passion and the purpose to create such a loving space for people as they age, without putting them in a nursing home, and even being a great resource for people that can and want to keep their loved one in the home, helping them still make that a safe environment and an environment where the aging person can continue to thrive as much as they can without, again, just focusing on this is the end and we just need to make it as comfortable. So I love that you have taken your passion, your creativity, your serial entrepreneurship, and really the families that get to live in your homes get the true benefit of all of that. I am super proud of watching your journey over the years continue to grow, from going to your launch party for your photography business some years back to, again, just watching the evolution, and you recently hosted your first live event for really teaching people how to open residential care homes, and it going so well. I saw the results of that, and again, I had no doubt that it was going to go well, because again, all the things I described about you, it has to happen. You're not going to stop until that happens. And I appreciate your level of excellence. That's what I'm always talking about in my business. And when I coach anybody, we don't have to do things. We can do things with excellence. And although you're in a tough space of providing care for folks that have a lot of health challenges and sometimes mental challenges, you're still delivering that with excellence, and I'm the world is grateful for what you are doing.
Thank you. Yeah, because you've been there from the very beginning of
yes, ma'am.
Every project, even the work series, the live event that I just did. I remember coming to your co-working session.
Yes.
And you were sitting beside me, and I'm just typing everything, getting all the ideas out, and me just telling you, what do you think about this name and the name of the series, and I appreciate you so much, because you are one of those people that I feel like has really had my back in all of this. Not just had my back, but really inspired me, and just really poured into me, and somebody that I felt like, okay, I don't have to be judged or unashamed of who I am to ask this question.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people with entrepreneurs starting out, you get intimidated by other people's success, and you're afraid to ask questions, and you're afraid of the answer. And one thing about you is you're very transparent, and I appreciate that, because I'm a transparent person, but sometimes it's hard for people to be transparent with me. So I appreciate the honest feedback, the transparency, you telling me, bring it back. Come back, Sharonica. Yeah, focus on this first and then move to this. So I really do appreciate just you being a big inspiration and playing a big part of me getting a lot of what I've done off the ground.
Listen, it is absolutely my honor. And I say to people, be okay being a beginner. Ask the questions, ask all of them. And you should be connected to people in your personal network that are willing to give you honest answers with love, and not act like you've been there all the time, right? I had to start somewhere and get those answers too. So, listen, we're going to drop all of the links to the ebook, everything you need to get this. If you're thinking about this, you have a aging loved one and you want to pre-plan, do as much work ahead as you can. We're going to drop all of that in the description below this video. So Sharonica, at the end of these recordings, I do a little rapid fire questions. I don't tell you about them in advance because I don't want you to overthink them. And you have the same reaction everybody has, like, oh God, what is Maven Miara getting ready to ask me? These are easy breezes, so I'm going to give you like 2 or 3 options, and you just tell me which one fits you best. So if you were offered meat, seafood, or veggies as your main meal, what would you select? Meat, seafood, or just, okay. Peanut butter and jelly or grilled cheese?
Oh, peanut butter and jelly.
Okay. Zip lines or lounging by the pool?
Zip lines.
Yes. Reading a book or audiobook?
Audiobook.
Yes. Nap or no nap?
No nap.
No nap. Oh, you're the first one that has said no nap. We listen,
but I'm not a napper.
I was not a napper up until 2 years ago. Now I need a nap. Digital planner or paper planner?
Digital,
yes.
Wait.
Both. Both. Yeah, I do both.
Yeah,
I use digital, but it like if it's a new idea, it starts on paper. I gotta write it out and squiggly and do all the things. Biggie or Tupac?
Tupac.
Okay. Techie or old school?
Techie.
Okay. Heels or flats?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with flats. It used to be heels, but I got a little
Post-pandemic,
older.
we have all given it up. And the last one, ice cream or cookies?
Cookies.
Very good. Listen, again, thank you for being a guest, sharing information that, again, I think is so important to everyone, but especially the Black community. Because like you said, if we can pre-plan some of this, or at least think through a process, then I think that also helps us with the money part of this, which is the biggest barrier, I think, in the Black community of planning something out like this. It comes down to the money. So thank you for joining us, and listen, Maven Nation, until next time, keep doing your BAM thing. Talk with you soon.